Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. All right. This lesson is going to be covering the mystery of the Gentiles. As it says here in the scripture that I have that I'm about to go into. Basically, tonight you had a group of plantation Christians that came up with the typical semantics. I was going back and listening to a little bit of it from tonight. At the Dallas camp, and I'm not really gonna play any of it, but basically just wanted to cover that the topic in general. This was the topic that he was asking about. And ultimately the dialogue became unfruitful to the point where we basically had to dismiss them. But it is still an edifying point nonetheless. So Lord willing, Abaratazah, this is edifying, all right, to the elect, okay? Now, this is Romans chapter 11, and when you get this chapter, it covers multiple topics. If you read up, it talks about the wild olive tree being grafted back in, which basically lets you know that Israel, matter of fact, I'm going to come back to this, verse 25. Let me go to, because you have to understand the history, man. And this is the thing that basically gets Christians riled up. When you challenge their doctrine that they came into. All right, this is Hosea 1:9. All right, it says, I'll start at verse 8. It says, now when she had weaned Loruhamah, okay. She conceived and bare a son, and the Most High said, then said the Most High, call his name Lo Ami. Okay, so you got two names here, Lo Ruhamah, okay, which is no mercy. La'a Rachama, I believe, is the word here. La'a Rachama, okay, which La'a means no, and then Racham, no love, no, Racham means love, compassion. So basically, the Lord told, when you read the beginning of this chapter in Hosea, the Lord told Hosea to basically go and take the wife of a whore, go and marry a prostitute, and basically that was symbolizing the actions and the demeanor of Israel as a nation, right? Because we brought this out of the camp, but I'll get it in again real quick. Isaiah 54 and 5. Let's see here. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 5. It says, for thy maker is thine husband, the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord of hosts is his name. Okay. And and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. All right. The God or the power of the whole earth shall he be called. Okay. So again, the Lord originally, when he made that covenant, this is what we're going into the camp kind of before they walked up. But it was around this minute mark for those who want to go back and listen, but around the two hour and 15-minute mark. But this is important history, man. Okay, how when the Lord, he put his name on us, we made the covenant with the Lord, with the Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, or with the Most High Yahweh. We took on the responsibility of having to go forth, with all of the, consequent curses that would come upon us if we didn't adhere to what the Lord said. So let's go back to this in Hosea 1 And verse 9, it says, then said the Most High, call his name Lo Ami. Now, that's a transliteration for La'aimya. All right, La'aimya. Here we go. Is La'a, again, means no. And then Aimya is people, okay? Not my people. So you can see here, symbolic name given by given by the prophet Hosea to his second son. All right. And again, it says they were given this name because it says what? For ye are not my people, and I will not be your power. Okay, so we basically got cut off, as a nation, we got cut off from from the Most High, from the power source. Okay, but there's still, if you read verse 10, there's still that promise that was going to come, all right, to Israel through the promise that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? He still, even when you go into the Jacob's trouble, scripture in Jacob's trouble, right? It talks about how he's going to be saved out of it. Jeremiah 30:7, it says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, so again, at the end, as it says in the NLT, in the end, they will be saved. Who's the they? The elect. Okay, the other, 2/3 of our people, they're not gonna make it. Okay, they're not gonna make it, man. Only those who believe in the Lord. Okay, and that's ultimately what's going on. So now let's get before we go back to Romans 11. I want to get this here in the NLT in John 7. All right. Now, I'll start up a couple verses. This is Yahushua having that, back and forth with the chief priests and the Pharisees, which were scoffers. Okay. It says, St. John 7:33, I'm reading on the left side on the King James Version. Then said Yahushua unto them, yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves, right, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Okay, because Yahushua was mentioning about how he was going to be with, on the earth. He was only going to be, available, for direct, basically interaction for a very short amount of time left, and then after that, they won't look, and then they're not going to be able to find him, right? And that's the same thing with the prophets of the Lord. The Lord's going to have the prophets, basically have to, we're going to have to get off the, highways and byways. The Lord said what? He's going to create a famine of the hearing of the word. Okay. And so that's coming too. Now it says in verse 35, I'll read it again, and then I'll read it in the NLT. It says, then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto this dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? All right. Now, when you get that word dispersed, and this is that mystery, okay, is that ultimately that word diaspora that's thrown around a lot. I remember hearing the word diaspora a lot, before coming into the truth. And this word diaspora, it means exactly that, scattering. Well, the dispersed, right? A scattering, dispersion. It says specifically of Israelites, a dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. Okay, that's the mystery of the Gentiles. What this guy here, he was asking. I'll play a little bit of it. I said I wasn't, couldn't resist.
Going to real quick. Yeah, all y'all are together, right? Or am I tripping? I'm with him. Okay. I mean, that's my brother. Okay. Okay, cool. So are y'all do y'all believe well actually, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna let you ask your question first. Who, me? You had a question, right? Yeah, yeah, it was about the mystery of the Gentiles because that's something I had a question about because when you said the gospel, right? That word gospel we know means good news, right? And so would you guys agree that the good news is for everybody, for all people? Um
So that was pretty much his question. About because I mentioned, I believe we mentioned the Gentiles, and that kind of triggered a question, right? And then the dialogue, it really wasn't that long between us, because it was everything he was saying, every scripture we were bringing out, every answer we were given, he pretty much didn't want to accept it. So obviously we know how that goes. We wipe the dust, shake off the dust. But as far as actually edifying here, right? This scattering, because the understanding of the Lord, he came to save the whole world and all that stuff. You got to go into the words, man. You really have to go into these words, okay? And it says it right, clear and cut. All right, the scattering or dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations, and one of the precepts that we got out was 1 Peter 1, and I made an attempt to explain to him, look, these are the people that Peter was writing to, okay? When he talks about the elect, okay? And the elect can't be heathen. They can't be other nations, okay? There's Israelites that were scattered. And when you read in the NLT, it even makes it more clear. I read this here in St. John 7 and 35. It says, the Jewish leaders were puzzled by this statement. Where is he planning to go? They asked. Is he thinking of leaving the country and going to the Jews in other lands? Maybe he will even teach the Greeks. Okay. Again, the Jews in other lands, that's the Gentiles there. Okay. That's the Gentiles. It has this footnote. Don't know what just happened. Hold on. I want to see what this footnote says. The Jews who live among the Greeks. Okay. The Israelites who lived among the Greeks, because again, where was the Lord at physically? He was at in Judea, and then he would go up to Galilee. All right, but I believe in this specific chapter, he was in Judea, right? And so this lets you know, okay, this was common knowledge back then. All right, this was common knowledge that Israel was scattered throughout the various different parts of the earth, okay? And basically when you go to, let's go back to Romans 7 now that we established a little bit, let's go back to Romans 11. And basically this whole chapter, man, okay, goes into this, how the Most High, because Hosea, the first chapter, the Lord cast us off as a nation. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? We went out into captivity. The northern kingdom went into captivity under the Assyrians. The Babylonians eventually took over the southern kingdom. And then, ownership was transferred into the Medo-Persians and the Grecians and the Romans. So there was a lot of, history and turmoil that Israel faced. And that caused, dispersions, man. That caused dispersions. We were removed. Matter of fact, another one I wanted to get before I get this is 2 Kings 17. 2 Kings. Okay. And this is a longer chapter, so sometimes I don't exactly remember where it specifically goes into. But really this whole chapter, it starts off basically letting the reader know that the Assyrians came in. Well, yeah, I'll read it. I'll start at verse 5. It breaks it down on how everything played out. So you know what? I'll start I'll start at verse 1. All right. Even though the point's way more farther down, this whole chapter goes into it. This whole chapter is dedicated towards the removal of the northern kingdom from the land of Samaria. But it says, in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. It says, so it's a little less demonic than some of the other kings of Israel, right? But he still did evil before the Lord. It says, against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. All right, now, when you look this up, okay, and we're going to look at Shalmaneser. Okay, Shalmaneser the third. Shalmaneser, or was it the fifth? Let me see. I'm going to look it up. Shalmaneser, which I'm going to say, which I believe it was the fourth. Shalmaneser brought down Samaria in 2 Kings 17. Okay, the fifth. Yeah. Shalmaneser the fifth. Okay, so answer of which Shalmaneser in 2 Kings 17, the Assyrian king who began the siege of Samaria, as described in 2 Kings 17, was Shalmaneser the fifth, ruled from 727 to 722 BCE. Though the city's final fall and the deportation of Israelites were completed by his successor, Sargon II, who claimed the conquest in his own records. But Shalmaneser the fifth is really the one who is attributed to conquering that land. Okay, all right. It says Shalmaneser the fifth captured the Israelite king Hoshea, besieged Samaria, for 3 years. But Sargon II finished the job. All right, resettling the land with other peoples. So that was it. Okay, that was it. But Shalmaneser the fifth, he got the credit basically, right, for bringing Samaria down, which Samaria was all the northern tribes, like Gad, Asher, Reuben, Zebulun, Manasseh, right, so on and so forth, and Issachar, and so it says, against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents, right? So we basically became tributaries to the king of Assyria. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, the king of Egypt. And that's why, another, precept that we get often is like Isaiah 30, right? We get Isaiah the 30th chapter a lot, Isaiah 31st chapter. Oops, hold on. And we're going to get that in Romans. But see, all this stuff, man, see, these Christians, this ain't, it ain't really that deep once you read it, but they got demons on them, man. When you go back and that's why we dismiss Christians. You know what I mean? This is why we dismiss Christians, because who's going to, you got to, first of all, you got to be, we opened up with that, actually, this sermon, Romans 12, and 2, you got to be transformed by renewing of your mind. You can't put old wine. I'm gonna get that quick precept. I'm gonna get it in this one here. Old wine in the new wine skins. You can't put old wine. New wine in an old wine skin. Hold on. Just make sure I'm don't play with me. Childish. Here we go. All right. Matthew 9 and it's probably a more into old bottles. It says bottles here. Okay, it says bottles. I'm gonna look in Luke and see here. Yeah. All right. This is Luke chapter 5 and verse 37. It says, "And no man putteth new wine into old bottles," meaning wine when when you put it up to ferment, the gases cause the container to expand. It's a closed container, so it causes that leather container to expand, right? But if it's an old leather container that's lost its elasticity, guess what? It's not going to be able to stretch, because this truth, when you first taste of it, it causes you, it requires you to have a open mind, a malleable mind, not a stiff, stiff neck, not a hard head. Okay, you got to be willing to adhere to what the Lord is telling you, as opposed to what this world is taught, right? It says, "No man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottle shall perish." Yeah, because basically, you get a taste of this truth, but you can't handle it, so you don't get any benefit, you don't get any profit from the truth, because you vomited it up. Okay, so it says new wine must be put into new bottles. Okay, that way the wine and the bottle itself can be preserved. The wine is this word, is the truth. All right, and the bottles is your vessel. If you can't handle it, if you can't handle the truth, then that vessel is going to rupture, and then the wine is going to be spilled out. It's going to be a waste. Okay, so going back here, I'm almost done. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to read this in Isaiah 30. All right. Hold on one second. All right. This is Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth." You see, because that's ultimately what, when you read, going back to 1 Kings, 2 Kings 17, that's what that's what the king of Israel did, right? It says in the middle of verse 2, "To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt," right? And it says, "Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame." The Lord allowed the heathen, all right, to succeed over us, okay, to succeed over Hosea, okay, because he went behind the king of Samaria, the king of Assyria's back, right? 2 Kings, when you go back here, okay, at first he was a tribute, right, and he made it worse. He went behind Shalmaneser back, and it tried to get the king of Egypt to help him, right? It says in verse 4, I'll read in the NLT. It says, "But Hoshea stopped paying the annual tribute and conspired against the king of Assyria by asking King So of Egypt to help him shake free of Assyria's power. When the king of Assyria discovered his treachery, he seized Hoshea and put him in prison." Now, why are we reading this? Okay, number one, they don't teach you this. They don't teach you this in in the church, all right, in a Christian church, and that's why these they're so low level, man. You can't even have a conversation. You can't even have a civil, because they're so gung ho and strong. These demons right here, we didn't get them on camera. I think
Y'all believe in the Bible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
we didn't get them on camera, but these guys behind the camera, they turned out to be demons. Okay, basically, trying to push that Christian dogma on us, which is why, we basically just dismiss Christians. Okay, we don't even deal with them. As soon as I found out there was Christians, I was kind of like, damn, okay, well, this ain't gonna go very far. I'm gonna let them ask a question or two, but then they turned out to be demons, man. We didn't get them on camera, okay? But that's why we don't deal with Christians, bro. Plantation Christianity has gotten Israel nowhere, okay? And that's why the Lord gonna put a majority of these people out of their misery. But I digress. Again, we're reading this here in 2 Kings 17. Okay. I'll read verse 5 in the NLT again, continuing on the right-hand side. Then the king of Assyria invaded the entire land, and for 3 years he besieged the city of Samaria. Okay, so again, Shalmaneser was not playing. All right, and it says the city of Samaria. Samaria was a larger landmass with multiple cities in it, but it was more so the land, right? You can see it on in the King James on the left side. It says it came throughout all the land and went up to Samaria. Okay. It says, finally, in the 9th year of King Hoshea's reign, Samaria fell, and the people of Israel were exiled to Assyria. Okay. So again, now this is Ezra 13. Okay. How we were carried away captive into, Assyria, right? The northern kingdom. It says they were settled in colonies in Halah, among the banks of the Habor River, all right, and Gozan, all right, and in the cities of the Medes. So the Medes, that was over there in the east. Let's look up where was the Habor River so we can get a visual. All right, Habor River. Yeah, it makes reference here. See, it has it here, but I kind of want to zoom out a little bit. Okay, here we go. Habor River. It looks like it's right off of the Tigris River there. I think that might be the Tigris. This might be the Tigris River here. It doesn't say. But yeah, it's off to you can see here, Israel being here, and then we were, taking off to the east, what would this be like, modern day Iran area, modern day Iraq, maybe a little bit going in Iran. But yeah, we were shipped off. We were carted off, man. You know what I'm saying? As a nation, we were removed, and that's history, all right, that, history that Esau doesn't teach you, history that the Christian church doesn't teach you. So when you go into scriptures like, fast forwarding now 700 years after this incident, which we have not, we could keep reading on this. You can see is a longer chapter. But basically you get the point. We're removed from the land, right? Now, when you fast forward 700 years after basically this instant right here that we're reading about, all right, now we're going to back in Romans 11, right? And, we're talking about the repercussions of things that happen throughout centuries of displacement, right? Centuries of displacement. Now, we hear this word Gentiles, and ultimately, again, you have to have the understanding that Israel was scattered throughout various cities, and even the concept of synagogues. Okay, when you look into synagogues were places that Israelites established in their respective lands that were outside of the land. They were outside traditionally. They were pretty much outside of, Judea. You had the synagogues. I guess you could say, within the land of Israel too. But that started after the Babylonian Empire. All right, those synagogues started popping up because we were starting to get removed from our land. but still you had Israelites that settled in their, respective areas outside of Israel that they, wanted to continue to read the scriptures and, go over to keep the customs, right? So I want to get a good starting point here, all right, because again, this is a great, excellent chapter. I actually think that going into the olive tree would be good too. But boy, it's a whole nother thing, like a whole nother lesson, I should say. But let me get this, and I'm going to get it in the NLT. And I'm starting at a kind of a middle part of the chapter, but I just want to get straight to the point. This is Romans 11 and 17. It says, man, you know what? I want to see something. You know what? I'll just start at verse 13. Romans 11 and 13. I'll read in the NLT. I'll try to get through it as much as I can. All right. It says, I'm saying all this, especially for you Gentiles. Okay. Again, you gotta, we'll get the word Gentiles in the Greek now. All right. Ethnos, which a tribe, a nation, a people group. All right. This is the definition here. The third definition is the definition to go with. All right. It could be talking about, most of the time it's talking about Israelite foreigners. Sometimes it is, actually talking about heathen. But in this instance here, it is talking about Gentile, Israelite foreigners, I should say. Okay. Basically, you can see here a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus. Okay. Which again, the Israelite foreigners are all, ultimately of the nation of Israel. They're all from the same tribe or the same nation. Now, it says, for I speak to you Gentiles, and this is the point of contention right now, with these bug out certain Israelites, chiefly, namely Genesis, the doctrine, the code switchers, the doctrine changers, which everybody in Israel is calling them out on it. They're completely bugged out anyway, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, about they're trying to say the Gentile, they're trying to say that the heathen, the actual, Moabites, Edomites, Elam, that 2% of them could possibly make it, when it's complete madness. There's no way that an Israelite, anyone other than the Israelite, could be reconciled to the Most High. Okay. Because the Lord has only ever dealt with Israel. That's always how it's always ever been. All right. No, it says, for I speak to you Gentiles, all right, Israelite foreigners, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. And I'll continue on the NLT side. All right. It says, the Most High has appointed me to as the apostle to the Gentiles. I stress this, for I want somehow to make the people of Israel jealous of what you Gentiles have. So I might save some of them. Yeah, the scriptures talk about provoking under jealousy. Okay. I am found of them that sought me not. I believe that's in Isaiah 60, right? Or Isaiah 65, one of the two. And basically, the Lord, man, he it's the same thing what we started off with in Hosea, the first chapter. The Lord cast us off as a nation as a whole, but then some of us getting brought back. That's what the analogy that Paul's about to go into here. All right. It says, verse 15, for since their rejection meant that the Most High, what is the rejection? What is the casting away as he's talking about? Okay. We were cut off, man. We were cut off from the commonwealth. Matter of fact, I'll get that. I got to get it in Ephesians 2. I like how it's worded here. Ephesians 2 and 12. We were all in this are all in this category now. This is Ephesians chapter 2 and 12. It says, NLT does a pretty decent job of some of these. I'm gonna read in NLT. It says, in those days you were living apart from Mashiach. You were excluded from citizenship among the people of Israel. Because who was Paul writing to? Man, I can go all night on this. I'm gonna wrap it up shortly, but he was writing to the Israelites in Ephesus, man. Okay, it says you were excluded from the citizenship among the people of Israel, and you did not know the covenant promises that the Most High had made to them. All right, so if you grew up as a Greek, right, you grew up as a Greek-speaking, Ephesian, but your lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but you were never taught. You were never taught the customs. Just like how we were raised in Christianity, we were never taught, hey, you're an Israelite, right? So even today, we're Israelite, foreigners, or Gentiles. That doesn't make us heathen. That just makes us Israelites who did not come up knowing that we was Israelites and didn't come up in the customs. Now we know, right? And that was actually the point, being strangers from the commonwealth of Israel, right? It says you did not know the covenant promises that the Most High had made to them. You lived in this world without the Most High and without hope, okay? And, really that's a point, you know what I mean? I want to drop down because, like I said, I knew that it would be like really long if I went through all of this here. But man, it's hard not to read it. I want to read it. Where was it? Verse 13, right? Verse 14. In the NLT on the right, it says, "For since their rejection meant that the Most High offered salvation to the rest of the world, their acceptance will be even more wonderful." All right. It will be life for those who were dead. Okay. The rejection or the casting away of Israel ultimately is going to make for an even better comeback story. Okay. The rest of the world, meaning what? The rest of the world of Israel. Okay. The reconciling of the world, the reconciling of the cosmos, that word there. Got to get that word world. Cosmos. Okay. Here we go. Aggregate or general collection of particulars. Okay. The Israelites. All right. The world of Israel, ultimately. Okay. Apt and harmonious arrangement, constitution, order, government. Okay. Of Israel. And you got to be spiritual to get this. You got to, you know what I mean? If it doesn't click, if you can't get it, then that's on you. The Lord hasn't opened up your eyes, man. Simple as that. Okay. Let me see here. For the rejection. Okay. Verse 16. And since Abraham and the other patriarchs were holy, the descendants will also be holy. You see that? This isn't some rando, I just randomly believe in the Lord. Even though I come from this random, heathen nation. You're Ammonite, just randomly. You know what I mean? The Most High is not just random like that, man. Okay, the descendants, our patriarchs. Okay, lets us know, hey, we are of the sons of the power, sons of God. All right, their descendants will also be holy, just as the entire batch of dough is holy because the portion given as an offering is holy. For if the roots of the tree are holy, the branches will be too. All right, now check this out. As we're going into, the casting away. It says, but some of these branches from Abraham's tree, some of the people of Israel have been broken off. You see? The wicked of our people. Well, really, honestly, a lot of Israelites, that just were discontinued from their heritage, and some of those individuals that were discontinued from the heritage were not wicked, okay? And guess what? We've all been discontinued from our heritage since this was written. So now we all fall into that category, okay? Being broken off. All right, it says, and you Gentiles who were Branches from a wild olive tree have been grafted in. So now you have also, so now, excuse me, so now you also have, so now you also receive the blessing that the Most High has promised Abraham and his children, sharing in rich nourishment from the root of the Most High special olive tree. All right. It says, and again, this lets us know that we're basically, I mean, we use this term all the time, being grafted back in. You're being reconciled to Yahweh Shem Yahshua through the blood of Yahweh. This is not just some random thing. Okay. But you must not, verse 18, but you must not brag about being grafted in to replace the branches that were broken off. You're just a branch, not a root. All right. Yeah. The Most High is able of you stones to raise up children unto, unto Abraham, seed unto Abraham. The Most High, he can put a spirit on whoever Israelite that he wants, because ultimately, if anybody that gets it, they're predestined from the foundation of the earth to get it. All right. And anybody who don't make it, they aren't of the elect. All right. It says verse 19, well, you may say those branches were broken off to make room for me. All right. Yes. But remember, those branches were broken off because they didn't believe in Mashiach. Yeah. People, who ultimately, they didn't obey the words of Yahweh Shem Yahshua throughout time. And the Lord cut them off. Like the Lord cut off Saul's lineage. He cut off Eli's lineage. Like he cut off certain men's lineage that even if they did at one time believe in the Lord, whatever the case is, look, you don't play with the Lord, bro. He'll cut off the line and bring you back through another line. You know what I'm saying? Through a different tribe or a different, you know what I mean? Part of Israel. But it's still Israel though. It's not another type of tree. It's still an olive tree. It's just, from a different part of the tree, a different part of the, it's all from the same root, but it's, from a different branch, right? So it says, don't think too highly of yourself, fear what could happen. All right. For the Most High did not spare the original branches, he won't spare you either. Okay. All right. This is all so good, man. But I wanted to get the point here. I think that was 25. I'll drop down to verse 25. All right. And I'm gonna read it in the King James Version. All right. And this is it. I'll close it out on this. It says, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits." You don't want to be conceited. You don't want to think that you got it just because you know a thing or two. All right, because this is a key. If you don't get this, then you gonna think that you got it, but you really don't. So this is important. All right. It says, "Blindness in part has happened unto Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." Okay. Now that's a mystery. What's the fullness of the Gentiles? Okay. Ultimately, the elect, the fullness of the Gentiles is all of the Israelites that are meant to receive this truth. All right. Everybody that's meant to receive it, that's predestined to receive it. Once the elect are sealed, okay, then, until then, that blindness is going to be something that Israel is going to be going through. You're going to have Israelites that just can't get it. Okay. Until ultimately the kingdom, Yahushua brings the kingdom in, and he, gives us understanding. All right. Fully. All right. What's the scripture say? We know in part and we prophesy in part. We'll close out on this. Okay. 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13 and 9, it says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come," which is talking about Yahushua, all right, and ultimately that when Yahushua is not going to come until the elect are sealed. So the fullness of the Gentiles is going to basically signify, or going to be that seal that, okay, mission accomplished, as far as the elect are concerned. Now it's time. Now it's time for the return of the Lord and the establishment of His kingdom. All right, but it says, verse 10, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. Okay, so we're going to be able to see clearly, okay, what exactly the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is. It says in verse 12, all right, for now we see through, actually I'll read in the NLT. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But when we will see everything, but then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete. But when I know, but then I will know everything completely, just as the Most High now knows me completely. You see, so that's what we are looking forward to. Okay, that perfect clarity with Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right now, we're seeing through a glass darkly. We know in part, we prophesy in part. We're waiting for the return of Yahweh to give us that fullness. Okay, that fullness. But the mystery on this side is that is even the plan in general. Okay, that blindness in part, all right, has happened unto Israel, and they're not even going to see a little bit. Okay, they're not going to see anything at all. They're gonna scoff. They're gonna, they're gonna scoff at the knowledge that we do have. Okay, and try to take us, off course and off track like these demons, behind the camera. Of course, this is myself in the middle and these brothers here teaching, but you had these scoffers. Okay, which there was Jakes, but their conscience was seared with a hot iron. Okay, so hey man, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, he's going to continue to shed light, okay, on his elect, so that way we can get up out of here, man. Okay, and we just got to continue to focus, keep our eyes a single focus on the prize, man, and not waver. Keep our medicine strong through prayer. All right, and continue to be fervent in His truth. So. I'll just go ahead and end it there. Lord willing, this is edifying with that. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Bashem Rakak Wadash, double honors to the apostles and those a great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.